Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with another video in my Legion Brawlers Guild Guide. In this video, I'll be covering all of the rank 5 bosses, and that's Thwack U, Razorgrin, the Leper Gnomes, and Blackmange. If you only need a certain one, check the description because I'll have some timestamps in there. And as always, as a point of reference, I'm an eye level 870 Balance Druid, so if you have anything close to that, you should have a similar experience. And for all of these fights, I recommend picking up flasks, DPS food, and most importantly, heroism drums. Check the nearby vendor for DPS and healing potions if you need them. And one last thing to note is that all of these fights do have enrage timers, so just keep that in mind that you do need a fair amount of damage to be able to beat them. So far, it looks like it's 2 minutes. First up, we have Thwack U. Lots of opponents and hazards in this fight. When it starts, you'll notice some phonograph type machines lined up in the back. These will occasionally send out sonic blasts down the arena and do a light amount of damage. It's not the end of the world if you get hit by them, but you're going to want to dodge as many as you can. They will light up before they fire, so just make sure that you're not standing in their path when that happens. The fight will also start with 2 opponents named Sunny and Wes, both of which you have to kill to end the fight. Sunny's the composer. He'll continuously cast a low damage fireball at you, and eventually he'll start a countdown and send waves of energy along the ground. They come in packs of 7, and you have to jump over these or else they'll deal some pretty heavy damage to you. And the other major opponent is Wes. The main ability you have to worry about here is his sit down. This is a rooting ability, and it can be bad if he combos it with those energy waves that you have to jump over. It has a big range, but it also has a 3-second cast time, and it is interruptible. Generic non-elite dancers will also spawn throughout the fight. They don't have too much health, so just AoE them down when they spawn. So my basic strategy for this is kind of cheap, but for this I basically just drag Wes over to Sunny and AoE them down along with the dancers, mainly ignoring the sonic waves from the phonographs. Like I mentioned, their damage isn't too crazy, so most classes can just tank it, at least as of this PTR. The only thing you really have to watch out for are the waves that you have to jump over. You can't really take too many of these. So make sure you save your interrupts or stuns on Wes when that starts up to make sure you don't get rooted into them. So try to dodge the sonic waves if you can, but don't neglect your damage too much, unless you're squishy with no heals. Remember, I'm a balanced druid, so I have a little versatility there. But a big tip for this one is to open up with an interrupt on Sunny at the start of the fight and drag him to the back of the room along with Wes. This way, you can cleave them down and have more time to react to the sonic waves. So group them up, cleaver AoE them down, dodge the sonic waves, save your interrupts and stuns for Wes for the waves you have to jump over, and then AoE down the dancers as they spawn, and that's fight complete. Next up we have Razorgrin. For this one I did have to increase my eye level. This fight is pretty unforgiving for balanced druids, so I had to get to the 880 range, and I'll be at that for the remaining fights. For this fight, a land-blocked shark will spawn and slowly flop his way towards you. Now while this doesn't sound too intimidating, it's actually really hard for classes that have a hard time dealing damage on the move. And that's because if you're near his mouth, he'll deal massive damage to you, and he'll continuously try to maneuver himself near you throughout the fight. He has massive health, and what'll kill most of you out there is the enrage timer. Melee classes definitely have an easier time with this since you can just pretty much just circle strafe the entire fight, but for some ranged casters, it's going to be tough. So there are 2 basic strategies for this, and the best one is going to depend on your class. One is to circle strafe him, trying to get 1 or 2 casts off before he rotates himself around and gibbs you. And the other one is when he gets near you is to run to the other side of the room to get some distance and then nuke him from there. As a balanced druid, the best strategy I found is to do a mix of these, only using the distance technique when I have dash or my Worgen sprint up. If you don't have some sort of speed boost, you'll lose too much damage with this method. So dash, blink, demonic summoning circle, gateway, whatever you have to create a lot of distance quickly is going to be vital for this fight if you're ranged. And another trick I'll share is for all of you balanced druids out there is to pick up Force of Nature. These are the treants that taunt for you, and they'll distract them for a good 10 seconds, which is huge in this fight. I'm not sure if similar taunting effects work, but for all of you hunters and warlocks out there, you may want to try your tanking pets to see if they help at all. That's about all the advice I can give for it though. If you're melee, like I said, just circle strafe around it and unload on it and you should be good to go. But for ranged, use the distance technique if you have your mobility spells up. Otherwise, just circle strafe it. And if you have any pet taunts, go ahead and use those as well. Next up we have the Leper Gnomes. Another returning fight here. For this one you have to take out 5 lepers, and they only have one mechanic to worry about, and that's a 4-second stacking dot called Leprous Spew. This stacks up to 20, dealing a fair amount of damage to you at that point. But once you reach 20 stacks, further applications won't stack and it'll fall off. So the basic strategy for that is to save any defensive cooldowns for when you're about to cap out on that. As of this PTR build, the dot isn't too bad and most classes should be able to deal with it, but if they ever buff it, it could be troublesome, so make sure you try to mitigate it as much as possible. You can try kiting them, but you really need to focus on damage for this fight or else you won't beat the enrage timer. They are susceptible to stuns though, so any AoE stuns you have will be handy as well. Other than that though, just AoE them down. You don't have to worry about killing them all at the same time or anything like that, so just pour on as much AoE damage as you can. And at the same time, mitigate that dot damage and you should be good to go. Fight number 4 is Blackmange. Just one major mechanic to look out for in this fight, and those are his cannons. Several cannons will spawn at the end of the room along with lines of gunpowder leading to them. These lines will be lit, and when they reach the cannons, if you're in their line of fire, it's a one-shot. So a pretty simple strategy here. Just make sure that you're not in front of a cannon by the time their fuse runs out. This can be a little tricky because the fuses burn at different speeds, and the fight is pretty long, so it's easy to lose concentration and goof up. Once you master that though, it's pretty much fight complete. Blackmange himself does some pretty low damage. He has a leap, but in this PTR build it just deals some light damage and is mainly there to distract you. So just make sure you put your focus on those lines and position yourself accordingly. And with that, you should have completed rank 5 of the Brawlers Guild. As always, I wish you luck with these fights, and I'll see you in the rank 6 video. I hope you found this video helpful. Give it a like if you liked it, and if you really liked it, let me know in the comments and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching, good luck, and peace.